Well, hello there. This is Vitriol's the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Don't miss out on your copy of my new book, 50+2 Chess Quick Wins, available on Amazon, $13.99. Now, those of you who follow my channel will know that I really enjoy the romantic style of chess. So aggressive moves, piece sacrifices, and this is well exemplified by the game I'm going to talk about today. Now, it's not necessarily the best way to play, and I think I'm a little bit addicted to trying to chase brilliant moves on the chess.com analytics. I get a real buzz when one of my sacrifices ends up being a brilliant move. And in this game, there are triple brilliancies. 2 brilliant moves plus 1 which I missed but came really close to finding. Oh, let's go take a look. It's a really fun game. All right, so I had the black pieces in this game, and this game started again like recently with the 2 knights Italian. So I had the black pieces, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So of course that's the Italian. The other knight, knight f6, the 2 knights defense, and here they decided to play d3. So that's the modern bishop's opening. Now, this is probably actually one of my least favorite openings to play against, simply because white, if they continue to play accurately, is super solid, and it usually ends up in quite a positional closed game. Now against this, I usually play h6 just to defend against the bishop or the knight going to the g5 square. Now here, they played bishop e3. And I kind of knew that that was probably a slight inaccuracy. So one of the things in terms of opening principles, of course, is to try to develop knights before bishops, simply because it's often not entirely clear where the bishop should go. I would say that the bishop here is a little bit misplaced. And one of the reasons for that is, now I can implement one of the opening principles, which is that if you can take the full center with pawns, it's often good to do so. So d5. And basically now we've got an attack in the center. I'm really happy about this because I don't really like closed positions, and this opens things up. So takes, 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 takes. And at the end of that trading sequence, you can see sort of at low depth, Stockfish can start to see that black is slightly ahead. At higher depth, black is about minus 0.7. So a nice little benefit. Now white is potentially still fine because natural developing move and attack on the queen. And here I wasn't actually sure what was the best place to put the queen. So eventually I played queen to e6. But you can see Stockfish reckons that the best move was actually for the bishop to come out to pin that knight, and probably then to immediately trade it off, I think. However, I opted not to do this, pulled my queen back because I thought, look, white are they going to castle kingside? Looks like that's the case. I like having the queen, potentially maybe there's an attack here. So I pulled it back, but here we're actually 0-0-0. They move their knight forward, potentially, having 3 sort of attackers to that point, to that square. I'm not sure it's really that good for them. Bishop out. Okay, so an extra sort of defender there. They now short castles. Castles kingside. And from a strategic perspective, I now know what I want to do. I want to move all my pieces potentially onto the king side and then to form an attack. And I've already got something because, queen and the 2 bishops, they're all looking in this direction. So I'm actually potentially okay. They're still perfectly fine here, but I'm okay. So here I decided to develop my other bishop because my plan potentially was to castle long, because once you castle long, these pawns can then participate in an attack as well, in a pawn storm. Now, very interesting, Stockfish reckons that b6 is best. I think b6 is best for a few turns. That's quite interesting. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's interesting. Now, they play pawn move, that's fine. I now long castles, which was my plan. And here, that was a blunder. There's blunders apiece. It's, I think, about minus 5.5. I don't see how, because I also focus on the idea of potentially making the attack. I didn't calculate it properly. I didn't see where that blunder was. I didn't realize it was a blunder. Now, can you see the blunder? That's right. It's pawn captures, and now we've got a double attack. And basically, we end up just winning a piece for a pawn. So here, that's potentially the best move. And this is one of the learnings from this, is that you should always calculate things properly, even if you're following a tactical or a particular strategy, which I was doing. I was going to attack the opponent's king. Now that still works for me. So here I move my queen to g6, attacking there, potentially a very powerful move, and also I've got an attack on that hanging knight. Now, I'm not sure that white saw or understood the threat actually to the king side, and often people at the beginner intermediate level don't. And this is why really following through on a strategic plan, as soon as the opponent has, particularly after they've castled, you often end up winning simply by having that consistency in that plan. So here, they're defending the knight. You can see that that was a mistake. They needed to block that potential attack, because now I decide to play bishop to h3, immediate checkmate threat. You can see that Stockfish calls this a mistake. This is better. Why is that better? Well, let's see. So this is one of the reasons to actually try to calculate properly. Bishop to f5. Basically, this battery attacks that knight. And so basically here, white needs to move their knight to provide that double defense. But once they've done that, we can now bring the bishop to h3. Of course, that is pinned. And the difference here is, in terms of the way I did it, is that because that knight has moved to that square, it cannot go to this square to defend the pawn. So that was the big difference. In the if I play the other move first, basically white has to play g3 and I get to win the rook. So that was the idea here. So they play the best move. That's a good move. And here, the interesting thing is that Stockfish calls the next series of moves by me generally inaccuracies or mistakes. So if you look at the Stockfish evaluation, this was a low accuracy game for both myself and the opponent. However, this is because with perfect play, white can defend its position. It's basically close to equality. And so Stockfish actually recommends making an attack potentially on the center and the queen side. However, one of the things is that humans are not computers. We're not the engine. I would say that in practice, it would be a mistake to let go of the pressure on the king side attack and trying to attack the center and on the queen side. No, outside of moving into sort of advanced or master's level. And so whenever you sort of do a review and analyze games using the engine, you do need to take the engine evaluations in context. Here, I decided to push the f-pawn to attack that knight. Now, here I put this as a tricky move, 0-0-0. Now, white here has only one good move. Any other move, it's bad for them, and I get to continue my attack. So in practice, the difference here is even though it's 0-0-0, it's much easier for me to play, difficult for white to play because they have to find the accurate line. The accurate move here is to block that potential mate threat, and which also, of course, unpins the pawn, attacking the bishop. Not too hard to find, but white doesn't find it. They bring the knight to d2, which was a mistake, and now I've got the advantage again. Pawn forward. Again, you can see these moves are because Stockfish doesn't believe in the attack. But here, the opponent is forced to move their queen. Again, I get to accrue some advantage, and also I keep this attack alive. And now, my first brilliant move. Here, I've unpinned that pawn so that it can take the bishop. So it's sacrificing that bishop. But if they take the bishop, that's a blunder because I get to take, and here, discovered check. They can either move here. I think king to h1 is actually better, and then take again. And basically, it's, I think, about minus 5.5, completely winning position. You know, double pawns here. It's really bad for white. Now, I expected them to potentially see this. I expected them to take this way, which is what they did. And now, capture back with the pawn. H captures g5. And now we've got a semi-open file. With the queen there, that's really bad for white. And one of the advantages with castling, opposite side castling, is that you've got this semi-open flank file attack. So they spent a long time to think. They moved the king out of the way. That was a mistake. That was their best move. Pretty obscure. They could have taken the bishop, but you know, that looks like it's bad. They didn't want to open up their pawns. But I'm perfectly happy to sacrifice that bishop. I was going to sacrifice it anyway. Bishop captures g2 sacrifice, the second brilliant move. And here they take this way, which is fine. You can see mate in 7, pretty obscure in terms of perfect play. But now queen to h6, immediate mating attack. They spent quite a long time thinking that move. Seems to make sense with which h4, you can see mate in 4. And here I've got another brilliant move. Have a look, see whether or not you can find it yourself. I didn't find it in game. Did you find it? The move to find, which I really thought about, but then eventually chickened out and refused to play, was queen captures h4. Brilliant move, queen sacrifice. Now, if they don't take, they'll have to move here, and then it's mate, okay, in either of those squares. So they have to take. Rook now captures the knight with check. Now, doesn't matter whether king moves to either of those squares. It might want to move forward to try to attack the rook. Check, move forward again. Rook, h8, ladder mate. Absolutely beautiful. I wish I saw that queen sacrifice in the game. Now, in the game, I just couldn't bring myself to take that piece. I didn't calculate it through, and so I decided to push that pawn. That was a mistake. I was thinking I would try to threaten that knight, displace it, and then to take. They, however, have that move, which is a really good move. And you can see 0, 0, 0. So here, I decided to continue with the theme. I'm going to sacrifice pieces. So clearly here, they've got a double attack here. I'm going to sacrifice that pawn. I'm going to try to move this knight into the attack. So knight here, you can see I put that as a slightly dodgy move, but you know, I think it's still a very tricky move. They're probably going to take, and they did, and you know, it's almost +3. White is winning here, you know, they're winning material, doesn't matter. Move the knight, attack. Now they do have a check. Here we go with check. I can move the king out of the way. And here they try to bring another defender, makes sense, but I take anyway. And this is quite a complicated move, because if they don't do something about that knight, the next knight move will come with a discovered check. Now their correct move is queen captures queen. However, I think, you know, they were just feeling the pressure from, you know, this big h-file attack, so they barely thought it through, barely spent any time. Captures, blunder, because that is undefended. That's a bow test gambit. They hang their queen. Queen captures queen. And in this position, completely winning. You know, that is going to be lost because, of course, it's pinned.
Emotional, damn it!
Good game, GG. My big takeaway from this game is to look for sacrifices. Most of them will be bad, but if you never calculate those lines, you will never find the occasional nuggets of gold. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.